gracious Father, we come to you once again in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Lord, we come to you right now, lifting your name on high, praising, exalting your holy name, Lord. Thanking you so much for this day, Lord, that you have allowed us to be a part of. Thank you for your creation, Lord. Lord, we come to you right now asking that you will dispatch your Holy Spirit, allowing us to come together and touch and agree that we may make decisions on behalf of the citizens of Ocoee, make good decisions, Lord. We also ask, Lord, that you will protect those that have sworn to protect us, citizens of Ocoee. Guide them, Lord. Keep them from all hurt, harm, and danger. Our first responders, our police and firefighters, and all first responders, Lord. We ask you will continue to watch over them, Lord. Guide them, protect them as they protect us. Lord, as we start this meeting, we just ask that you will just be with us and help us to make decisions that will continue to move this city forward. Lord, these and all things we pray in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Commissioner Brunson?
Here.
Commissioner Wilson is absent. Mayor Johnson?
Here.
Commissioner Firstner?
Here.
Commissioner Oliver?
Here.
All right, under presentations, we have a couple proclamations tonight. Can you read this first one in Spanish? Sure. Hispanic Heritage Month, September the 15th through October the 15th, to be read by Commissioner Firstner.
Whereas each year Americans observe National Hispanic Heritage Month by celebrating the history, culture, and traditions of people whose ancestry can be traced to Spain, Mexico, Central America, South America, and the Caribbean islands. And whereas this observance celebrates the achievements of Hispanic Americans in the arts, education, entertainment, government, history, law, literature, medicine, the military, music, politics, science, and other endeavors. Whereas the United States first observed what was then National Hispanic Heritage Week in 1968 under President Lyndon Johnson, calling upon public officials, educators, librarians, and all of the people of the United States to observe this time with ceremonies, activities, and programs. And whereas Hispanics have enriched and shaped our community for generations, and whereas Hispanics continue to make significant and diverse contributions to the cultural, educational, economic, and political vitality of the city of Ocoee. Now therefore be it resolved that on this 17th day of September 2019, the Ocoee City Commission does hereby proclaim September 15th through October 15th, 2019 as Hispanic Heritage Month, and encourage all residents to honor the rich diversity of the Hispanic community and celebrate the many ways they contribute to our nation and society. In witness hereof, I hereunto have set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Ocoee, Florida to be affixed this 17th day of September 2019. Rusty Johnson, Mayor.
Thank you. All right, we have another one here, a proclamation. It's for Diaper Need Awareness Week. Whereas diaper need, the condition of not having a sufficient supply of clean diapers to ensure that infants and toddlers are clean, healthy, and dry, can adversely affect the health and welfare of infants, toddlers, and their families. And whereas national surveys report that 1 in 3 mothers experience a diaper need at some time while their children are less than 3 years of age, and 48% of families delay changing a diaper to extend their supply. And whereas the average infant or toddler requires an average of 50 diaper changes per week over 3 years, and whereas diapers cannot be bought with food stamps or WIC vouchers, therefore obtaining a sufficient supply of diapers can cause economic hardship to families. And whereas a supply of diapers is generally an eligibility requirement for infant and toddlers to participate in child care programs and quality early education programs. And whereas the people of Ocoee recognize that addressing diaper need can lead to economic opportunity for the state's low-income families and can lead to improved health for families and their communities. And whereas the City of Ocoee is proud to be home to multiple community organizations that facilitate the distribution of diapers to underprivileged families and recognize the importance of diapers in helping to provide economic savability to those families. Therefore, it is my great pleasure and privilege as the mayor of the City of Ocoee to hereby proclaim the week of September 23rd through September the 29th, 2019 as Diaper Need Awareness Week in the City of Ocoee, and encourage its citizens to donate generously in the month of September to diaper banks, diaper drives, and those organizations that distribute diapers to families in need to help alleviate diaper need in Ocoee. In witness whereof I hear to have set my hand and cause the seal of the City of Ocoee, Florida to be affixed this 17th day of September 2019. Rusty Johnson, Mayor. Will, let's see, Sharon Lyles, she here? All right, staff reports. Assistant City Manager Shadrick's here tonight. City Manager's out of town.
Thank you, Mayor. I have two items before you on the dais that are add-ons. The first one is approval of change order number 2 for the Lakefront Park Improvements Project Phase 1 in the amount of $49,103.09 to increase project funding. This item is consisting of 3 components. One is a change order that efficiently gets us going back out on the campus Lakefront Park project and corrects a funding discrepancy because our contractor, Marbeck, had to demobilize and remobilize several times because of unforeseen utility conflicts that were discovered during the project, including some relating to Duke Energy that caused a delay, which added additional cost. In addition to that, we have 2 utilities-related items that are part of the Lakefront Park improvement, and one of them consists of the lift station that exists on campus currently. The station is going to be taken offline as we previously planned, and a manhole placed in its place, and the converted manhole will flow to the new lift station, which will be across the street. We had not previously transferred the funding from utilities to accomplish that, and this does that. And the last item as part of this change order is the power part, which power stands for Protect Ocoee Water Resources. We have, as part of our permit, a requirement that we do a demonstration garden that demonstrates Florida-friendly landscapes that can be used in accomplishing maximum water conservation efforts. And we had to take out our power park as part of the Blueford Avenue improvements and some of our City Hall improvements with the parking lot. And we will be converting that into a series of demonstration gardens and integrating it into the landscaping on campus here. And so that also, that money from utilities will be used to accomplish that. And Charles Smith, project manager, is here to answer any questions if you have it. The funding for that, I might add, is going to be the recreation impact fees will fund the change order. Funding for the lift station conversion, which will come from the Oakland Gravity Sewer Lift Station Project 17103A in the amount of $40,000, and the power, landscape, and irrigation improvements from the power program portion of our utilities budget.
All right. You need us to do a motion on that, vote on it, right?
Yeah.
You gotta read anything? All right. Any discussion off commissioners? No discussion? I need a motion.
I make a motion to approve the change order number 2.
There's a second.
I'll second it.
Motion made by Commissioner Forster, second by Commissioner Brinson. No more comments, let's vote. Motion carries unanimously tonight with Commissioner Wilson absent.
And Mayor and Commission, the second item that I have is actually some great news. As you all are aware, during the spring of 2018, we submitted grant applications for the St. Johns River Water Management District reimbursement grant application program for reclaimed water retrofit projects. We submitted projects based on our list for the Windermere Grove subdivision and the Hammock subdivision. And as you all are aware, they both received high scores, but Windermere Groves was selected and the Hammocks was not. It has just come to our attention that they have additional funding available within this grant cycle. The grant funding they'll be providing will encompass 33% of the necessary, 33% of the total project budget that they'll reimburse us for. We have adequate funding available in the utilities budget, and this is something that is great. It speaks very highly of our utilities department and how highly thought of they are in the eyes of the Water Management District because of the quality of our conservation program, our consumptive use permit program, and so we're one of the first local governments to get a call if there is leftover money. This allows us to further enact our conservation efforts, and that's to get subdivisions off of using potable water for irrigation on reclaim, and we would recommend that the commission approve this also.
All right. We need a motion for that too.
I'll make a motion that we approve this agenda item.
Motion made by Commissioner Oliver. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Forster. Any more comments? Let's vote. Motion carries unanimously with Commissioner Wilson absent. She's on vacation, so give her an excuse. All right. Commissioners' announcements. Is that all?
Yes, sir, that's all.
All right. Commissioners' announcements. Commissioner Brinson.
Just one. Just wanted to calling all businesses in western Orange County and beyond that in conjunction with the Greater Orlando Aviation Authority, the city of Ocoee is partnering with them to bring out their doing business with GOA seminar. So I'm asking all businesses that's out there to save the date, October 17th. It's going to be around midday or so, and so we're going to be getting more information to come on that. That's all I have.
That it?
That's all.
Commissioner Forster.
Orange County is hosting a hazardous waste and hazardous electronics turn-in service, and it's going to be October 12th, the Saturday, from 8 till 3 p.m. It's in Apopka on 555 West Martin Street. It's the Orange County Services Building out there. That's all, yep.
Commissioner Oliver.
Just one question, doing business with GOA, where is that going to be located? Where, have we identified a
No,
venue yet?
yes, we have identified it. It will be taking place in the new Ocoee Event Center.
Okay. I have nothing else.
All right, I have a couple to read here. Announcements. Information on the budget hearing can be found on the city's website and on Ocoee TV. As a reminder, the final budget public hearing is scheduled for Wednesday, September the 25th at 6 p.m. here in City Hall. The city will be launching a Parks and Recreation Community Survey later this week. Please look for our social media announcements or check the city's website to assess the survey to assist us in our efforts to improve public recreation. Your opinion matters. All right, I have one thing that I want to do through my announcements. I want Myra and you and Gail want to come up to the podium? You bring one of your books? Come on up, come up here a minute. Right up here where it says public.
You get to stand behind the podium and speak into the mic.
These two young ladies have lived here all their life in the city of Ocoee. I've known them pretty much since I've been here, since 1955. But Myra and Gail was right behind me in high school, I think, a little bit.
Yeah.
Myra was ahead of me, though. But they have written a book, and what I wanted to, it's about the actions in 1920. You want to tell them what the name of the book is?
It's called Ocoee, a novel. Ocoee, and it's a historical book that we spent a long time researching and trying to make sure our facts were correct. And we call it a novel because a few of the names were changed, and that's about all. And we have all the acknowledgments in the book, and we also have about 4 big boxes at home of research data that if anybody's interested, you know, we could show them the additional information.
But what I brought them here for is, and they were up in the Gainesville when we were up at the discussions with Gainesville University of Florida about the 1920s voting incident with July Perry. But they have written a book, and what I was going to ask the city tonight to get consensus and see if we can let them have their book up here, and maybe somebody at the city clerk's office could kind of keep the books there, and if somebody wants to buy them, we'll have a sign up, then these young ladies can keep the books here and come by and check on them and stuff. It'd be kind of nice to have them here at the city hall. So that's why I wanted them to come tonight, where we could see if everybody is okay with that. We can, and if it's okay with, what's that girl down there? City clerk. Melody, that's our staff. So is it okay if we do that? And I just wanted to get a consensus kind of with the commissioners.
Well, I'm not sure, is that something we've done in the past?
Yeah.
I don't know.
We've had the Woman's Club stuff here and different things like that. It's part of our citizens. If something our citizens did, I would think we could, you know. Plus it's an education part, you know. Anybody else?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. You good to go? When you come up here, will you see Melody? And go meet Melody, and she'll take good care of you.
All right,
What,
thank
what's
you.
the, I'm sorry, what's the
Thank
cost,
you
what's
so
the cost of your book?
Pardon?
How much does your book cost? What's the cost?
$16.95.
Okay. Is it also on Amazon or any other place like
It's
that?
on Amazon.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks, ladies. All right. Where I was at here. All right. I got one other one, it'll be at the end, I think. It's not on the commission and that stuff. All right. Consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'd like to pull an item.
All right, hold on a minute. All right, what item? You know what item you want to pull?
Yes, item number 7.
All right. Anything else?
Yep, I have on items 8 and 14.
All right, I'm gonna, we don't mind doing this, but I'd ask in the consent agenda, if we, what they used to tell me is, if you got a question on the consent agenda, that's something maybe to speak with the city manager or assistant city manager before the meeting and kind of get a thing. That's one of the reasons they put it on the consent agenda, is to get it through.
Well, the problem with that is the fact that I actually have the privilege of being able to pick up the phone and call them.
Oh, yeah.
But citizens and
No, I
people
know.
that watch this don't have that privilege. So there's sometimes there's items on there that they may have questions about, and this is the opportunity to have discussions, so there's more
Oh,
clarity
I'm not trying
on
not to
certain
let-
items.
I'm not trying not to let it be the citizen, I'm just saying if it's something that if no citizen asks you about it, that's why consent agenda. If not, we just need to put them all on the program and do them anyway.
Okay.
All right, let's go ahead and approve everything except 7, 8, and 14.
Yeah.
All right, do I hear a motion?
So moved.
All right, motion made by Commissioner Forster,
Second.
and seconded by Commissioner Brinson for everything except 7, 8, and 14. Any more comments? Let's vote. All right, motion carries. We're on vacation. All right, item 7.
Item number 7 is the approval of the non-substantial amendment to track C of the Prairie Lakes Planned Unit Development, which is actually a development is going on pretty much at the corner of Clark Road and Claricon Ocoee, which would be on the west side of Clark Road. We have approved this item, or it has been approved by this commission a few months ago to move forward with that. At that time, I did make a comment about that particular subdivision and not being able to put any money towards the infrastructure of Clark Road. And I was told that it was, that had been approved or grandfather approved basically years ago before they start development. And I understand that, and that's okay. But simple fact that I voted to disapprove it because of that, I'm going to continue to voice my concerns with any subdivision, whether they're grandfathered in or not, that is not adding to the infrastructure of our roads. When you're adding in more homes, more cars, I think that there should be a responsibility for any subdivision to add to the infrastructure of our roads, as we're going to be increasing those trips in our traffic in that area. So it was just for comment, and so I'm definitely going to vote against it.
You had comments?
The parcel is on the northeast corner of A.D. Mims and Clark Road, across from our fire station. And this parcel is under contract, went under contract by the city and Meritage Homes in March of this year. And this is a plan unit development that extends from A.D. Mims all the way up to Hackney Prairie and has a number of tracks. It's part of their approval process back years ago to have all of the townhomes and single-family homes that have been approved and developed. They had to not only give us the right-of-way of Clark Road, which they gave for future four-laning, but they had to construct Clark Road and the turn lanes and such. And by fulfilling that obligation, all of the trips were vested. The change to the tract that is before you today is a change within the approved PD. If this tract was asking to add more units than what was previously approved, or add more commercial density, which was previously approved, or add a new use, we would have another shot at looking at the transportation. But since it's within the guidelines, those trips are still vested. I would just say that with this use, the tract is a commercial tract and approved for up to 125,000 square feet of commercial. This is reducing that parcel by over 8 acres and providing for a different type of use, townhome, which will generate less than 7 trips per townhome, a lot less trips, de minimis in trips from what could be developed under commercial. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? All right.
I do need to come back. I just got some clarification on that one. That's not the one I was actually talking about. I just got clarification.
You're talking about the one on the west side of Hackney Prairie?
That
Gotcha.
one there. But we're okay. We're on the same page.
I'll add, he did contact me about that, and I was thinking he was referring to this one also.
So we can approve this one?
We're good.
All right. All right, I need a motion for number 7.
I'll make a motion to approve item number 7.
Motion made by Commissioner Arnold for number 7. Who, do I hear a second?
I second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Brinson. Let's vote. Motion carries with Commissioner Wilson absent. All right, Commissioner Brinson. 8.
Yeah, I just have a question. I don't know if he left. I don't know if we have the answer to that question as far as Crown Point Parkway. What's the scheduling for it going through the backside of Crown Point?
Mike Rumor's going to respond to that. This actually does not have to do with that per se. This has to do with specifically the things that they've constructed as part of their subdivision. So this is a little bit separate from that Crown Point project. They actually have done some preliminary design of Crown Point Parkway, but this is something that's separate. This puts a warranty on all of the improvements, their internal roads, their internal stormwater, all the things specific to their subdivision, and it ensures that if something goes wrong within this 2-year period, we can draw upon that irrevocable letter of credit. And Mylan Womack, who's our staff engineer, he maintains very strict records of the inspections that he's done and does follow-ups to make sure that if there is a problem, we catch it within that 2-year period. So it's this item specifically is separate from the Crown Point Parkway, but since Mike's here, he can actually give you a quick update on the discussions that we've been having with some of the other agencies about it.
Yeah, we've had some nice work being done with regards to the Orange County School Board site. And first, before I forget, after 2 years, we will go back out and inspect all the public improvements and then bring that release to you guys. You'll see it again. The school board is looking at that, and they're going to have understand sort of a community meeting to look at that campus idea they have. And with that, there's the opportunity to have a good bulk of Ocoee Crown Point Parkway constructed from the East Crown Fuller's Cross Road up to at least the trail. In order to get that level of engineering, they have to actually design the whole road from where it terminates by the high school all the way down. So we're working at trying to fund or figure out a way to pay for the rest to have the road done all at once and not just have a leg from the East Crown up to the trail. So the horizon's looking good to have that extension done.
Okay, yeah, because several of the homeowners over there have called me today about this very issue.
Yes, and we had that very nice young student that spoke at the last meeting as well.
Yes.
On that issue. Yes. He's on our council as well.
Yes, thank you. Oh, that was all on that one.
All right, we did a motion for it.
I make a motion that it be approved, item number 8.
All right, motion made by Commissioner Brinson for item number 8. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Furster. Any more comment? Not, let's vote. Motion carries unanimously with Commissioner Wilson out. All right, number 14, Commissioner Brinson.
It's number 14. This one I have a question as far as Koosman Services. Do they have a surety bond? Are they reimbursing us, the city?
I'm going to have Mr. Smith answer that. This is specific to an emergency repair. We go through a process to have contractors that are available to work on a moment's notice, and Mr. Smith can enlighten the commission on that process.
First of all, I don't believe they're working for us. The prime on that project was ATF, the red light camera company. It was their subcontractor that was doing work at that intersection that hit the pipe.
That's
So they wouldn't have a surety with us. We have turned it, all the costs and everything, we have turned them over to the risk management, and our insurance company will be going to ATF and that contractor to seek reimbursement.
Okay, that's all I had.
That it? Make the motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve item 14.
Motion made by Commissioner Brinson to
Second.
approve number 14. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Oliver. Any more comments? Let's vote. Motion carries unanimously. Commissioner Wilson is absent. All right, no public hearings. We go to the first reading of ordinances.
All right, first item, number 16, is the annexation ordinance for Skipper property at 1936 Adair Street. This is an ordinance of the City of Ocoee, Florida, annexing into the corporate limits of the City of Ocoee, Florida, certain real property containing approximately plus or minus 1.01 acres located on the west side of Adair Street, south side of Claricona Ocoee Road, pursuant to the application submitted by the property owner. Finding said annexation to be consistent with the Ocoee Comprehensive Plan, the Ocoee City Code, providing for and authorizing the updating of official city maps, providing direction to the city clerk, providing for severability, repealing inconsistent ordinances, providing for an effective date. And the rezoning ordinance. I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
let's announce the, oh wait, hang on a second. All right, the rezoning ordinance for the Skipper property. This is an ordinance of the City of Ocoee, Florida, changing the zoning classification from Orange County A1 Rural Agricultural to City of Ocoee R1 Low Density Residential on certain real property containing approximately 1.01 acres located on the west side of Adair Street, south side of Claricona Ocoee Road, pursuant to the application submitted by the property owner. Finding such zoning to be consistent with the Ocoee Comprehensive Plan, providing for and authorizing the revision of the official city zoning map, repealing inconsistent ordinances, providing for severability, providing for an effective date.
This, item number 16 for the first reading of ordinance of the Skipper property, 1936 Adair Street, will be brought back for the second reading and public hearing on October the 1st, 2019 at the regular commission meeting at that time. Anybody wanting to have any comments can. All right.
Item number 17 is the annexation ordinance for the Cruz Miller property at 1553 Blackwood Avenue. An ordinance of the City of Ocoee, Florida, annexing into the corporate limits of the City of Ocoee, Florida, certain real property containing approximately 0.51 acres located on the east side of Blackwood Avenue, south side of Old Winter Garden Road, pursuant to the application submitted by the property owner. Finding said annexation to be consistent with the Ocoee Comprehensive Plan, the Ocoee City Code, providing for and authorizing the updating of the official city maps, providing direction to the city clerk, providing for severability, repealing inconsistent ordinances, and providing for an effective date. And the rezoning ordinance, this is an ordinance of the City of Ocoee, Florida, changing the zoning classification from Orange County A1 Rural Agricultural to City of Ocoee R1 Low Density Residential on certain real property containing approximately 0.51 acres located on the east side of Blackwood Avenue, south side of Peters Old Winter Garden Road, pursuant to the application submitted by the property owner, finding such zoning to be consistent with the Ocoee Comprehensive Plan, providing for and authorizing the revision of the official city zoning map, repealing inconsistent ordinances, providing for severability, providing for an effective date.
All right, same thing. Cruz Miller property on 1557 Blackwood will be, annexation and rezoning will be brought back on October the 1st, 2019, regular commission meeting at 6:15 for the public hearing and second reading.
All right, item number 18 is the annexation ordinance for Hackney Prairie Road property at 8815 Hackney Prairie Road. This is an ordinance of the City of Ocoee, Florida, annexing into the corporate limits of the City of Ocoee, Florida, certain real property containing approximately 2.80 acres located on the north side of Hackney Prairie Road, east side of North Clark Road, pursuant to the application submitted by the property owner. Finding said annexation to be consistent with the Ocoee Comprehensive Plan, the Ocoee City Code, providing for and authorizing the updating of official city maps, providing direction to the city clerk, providing for severability, repealing inconsistent ordinances, providing for an effective date. And the rezoning ordinance is an ordinance of the City of Ocoee, Florida, changing the zoning classification from Orange County A1 Rural Agricultural to City of Ocoee A1 General Agricultural on certain real property containing approximately 2.80 acres located on the north side of Hackney Prairie Road, east side of North Clark Road, pursuant to the application submitted by the property owner, finding such zoning to be consistent with the Ocoee Comprehensive Plan, providing for and authorizing the revision of the official city zoning map, repealing inconsistent ordinances, providing for severability, providing for an effective date.
All right, same thing. Ordinance for 8815 Hackney Prairie Road, annexation and rezoning project will be brought back, let's see, October the 1st, 2019, regular commission agenda, 6:15, for the second reading and vote. All right, moving on. Second reading of ordinance, none. Regular agenda, None. Staff action items?
Nothing further, sir.
All right, comments from the citizens. All right, I have one here, and if anybody else in the public wants to speak, you need to fill out a form and let us know, and then we'll put you up at the podium. This one will be Dorcas Dillard.
Hello, Commissioners and Mayor. How are you?
Great.
I'm here today, I'll briefly tell you that the Ocoee Youth Council is on board and we're starting to meet. Our first official meeting will be September 18th this week. We actually did attend the Florida League of Cities conference last month, and so that gave them their first opportunity to see what life will be as a council. There were 25 to 27 other youth councils at that conference, so they had an opportunity to learn more about how to run a council and the kinds of issues that they want to address. So we're real excited about that. What I'm here today for is that each month we'll be having a meeting. Some of the meetings will be longer than others. We'll be planning some community service activities and things like that. And because this is a youth council and I've had quite a bit of experience with youth, we wanted to use some of the funds at our monthly meeting to buy snacks and light refreshments for the students, because our meetings start at 6 p.m. This week will last until about 8. So we want to use some of the funds that we have in the budget for just light refreshments, Chick-fil-A, little nuggets or something like that, some snacks, just general peanuts and pretzel kind of snacks. So that's why I'm coming to you now. I'm thinking $20 to $45 if for some reason we have like a little heavier meal if it's a longer meeting. And what I'll do is I'll buy the items and just be reimbursed for them if that's the best way to do it.
Is there money Craig, in that account?
Yes, sir. We actually have a little bit of money left in contingency too, if you wanted to allow that. But I don't know exactly off the top of my head how much they have left, but Melanie, they have money in their budget.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, we haven't spent. We've only spent for the conference, and that was probably around $700 maybe, if that.
What you do is just buy them, get the receipt, and reimburse them to the
Yes.
finance.
Yes.
Is everybody okay with that?
I'm good with it.
Yep.
We don't have to vote, just
No, we just get a consensus?
consensus.
Great.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you,
Easy.
ma'am.
Thank
I also
you.
want to say that I attended that, and it was actually a great event for League of Cities, and seeing the young adults being able to meet other young adults doing the same thing in other cities. So I was really excited to see that program take off like that, and hopefully we'll continue to grow that program with other kids throughout our community and throughout our school system to join that youth council. It is a real advisory board, and they actually will be making recommendations to the city commission as it pertains to youth events that they would like to see in the city.
And I will piggyback on that. Yeah, we still are looking for members. Right now we have 6. We can have up to 15. They must be City of Ocoee residents, and they must be from 9th grade to 12th grade. So if you know anybody who might be interested, we'd love to have some more youth get involved. The other thing is that we're going to be, our first competitive item is we're going to do a video that kind of surrounds what they feel about the city and how, what makes them proud about their city. So I'll be enlisting some help from some of the people that do video here at the city. It can't be professionally done, but I want to be able to teach the students how to do it right and have it look as professional as possible. So that'll be our first competition through the Florida League of Cities. So we're excited.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. William Maxwell.
Good evening, Commissioners, Mayor, ladies and gentlemen. My name is William Maxwell. I reside at 558 Woodson Avenue, Ocoee, Florida. been a resident of this city for now 25 years. And I've come before you this evening in sort of a removed sense, in that I'm here on behalf of the Human Relations Diversity Board, because on last week I received word that an event has been planned, or is being planned, for 2 November 2019, a Heritage Festival in celebration of the life of July Perry. One would perhaps ask, why would Maxwell, a resident of the city and an African American, ask or question such an event? And my rationale for that, I will try to relate to you within the remaining time that I'm allotted to speak to you. On yesterday, your Human Relations Diversity Board celebrated 16 years of existence as a functional entity in this city. And Commissioners and Mayor, I would report to you that based on my research, that the state of Florida has 67 counties. It has 412 cities or municipalities, of which 283 are cities, 109 are towns, and 20 are villages. And the research that I have done that yields 0 results in terms of a functional entity in the line of human relations or the cultural diversity issues. Ocoee, which I believe ranks about 78th in size of this state, of cities in this state, is the one that people are calling and asking, how do we set up such an entity as you have? So, for those of us who, as volunteers for the past 15 years, in support of Resolution 2003, 21, and 23 that created the Human Relations Diversity Board, would ask you, what and where do you wish to have your cultural diversity program go? Would you prefer having an entity that has been here in the trenches in every event and perform our services to the satisfaction? I've never received any negativity, anything that was negative from an event that we have conducted over the past 14 years. Or would you prefer have an entity that would come into our city, perhaps at a paid fee, and knowing less about our city than anyone related to the Human Relations Diversity Board, get involved to the extent? Let me just put this in plain language. This announcement was made, and no one on the board had any idea of what it was about and where it was coming from. And my being in front of you this evening, Commissioners and Mayor, is to ask you to look at this in depth and to ask you that the permission of this event to occur without any input from our Human Relations Diversity Board kind of negates everything that you've achieved over the last 15 years, 16 years, creating an advisory board that has been here to fulfill its mission and to satisfy the objectives as I pointed out in our charter and in our bylaws. I have some serious doubts in terms of the quality of the event that is being planned, if it's being planned. No one has bothered to talk with us about it, and there's questionable character in terms of one of the corporate entities that's affiliated with it. I was so much concerned about this that I scheduled an appointment at Senator Brace's office and was granted the opportunity to speak with him. I thought initially we'd have 15 minutes, perhaps 30 minutes, and the senator was gracious enough to provide us with about an hour and 15 minutes of discourse. And we expressed at that point in time our willingness to work with his office, with his organization, in any form that was necessary to positively portray the image of our city. That is the HRDB's sole concern, a positive portrayal of everything that the volunteers, men and women, myself included, have worked to achieve over the past 15 years. The senator agreed. And in our last meeting on last Thursday night, there was a difference of opinions. And what I came away from that meeting on last Thursday night with encourages me to believe that Ocoee is again about to be engaged or about to be projected in a manner that turns it into a political football. I say that based on the fact that our loving senator is up for re-election in 2020. And it really disturbs me when I see a flyer that has a political figure on it, that has an organization affiliated with it that has been discarded from all of the positive elements affiliated with the efforts that to promote Ocoee forward in a positive manner. So I ask you, in your consideration as this event evolves and as it comes before you, to please consider everything that those of us who care about our city, who volunteered our time, our talents, and our devotion to moving Ocoee forward in a positive manner. I thank you for listening to me.
Thanks, sir. All right. Is anybody here, anybody else got any other material tonight or any discussions? Did you guys have something you want to bring up tonight? Is there supposed to be? Yeah, when you, all right, well, all right, I'll start with him first. I have to start with you this time, so he can get to it when he gets there. It's up to you.
All right.
No, I started with him on the other, I have to start this one now. You get to start.
All right. I need to move to District 3 so I can sit in his stuff. Well, only thing I have is just a question for you, Mr. Maxwell, concerning your disdain for that event. Is that from your meetings that you had with Senator Bracey, you got I guess, somewhat of a notion that it was going to be that event is going to portray our city in a bad light? Is that what I was hearing? Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, if you can. Yeah, please.
Now, we're gonna try not to make this an all-night discussion here, so.
No, sir.
Okay.
Here's the problem. The organization that is billed on the flyer is an organization called Bridge the Gap. I'm not going to pull any punches one way or the other. I'm going to call it like it is. Bridge the Gap has been basically removed from affiliation with every organization around this city that is oriented towards our positive celebration of the 100th year memorial service of our event of 1920. And we just don't want to put ourselves in a situation where anything that we do as a board, we're sanctioned by you. We serve at your pleasure. And we are tasked to live up to the bylaws and the objectives and the mission statement of the Human Relations Diversity Board. That board is near and dear to me. I chaired it for 4 years. And I just don't want to be affiliated with an organization that is looking for personal gain. We do what we do here because we care. And that's the only reason. We will work with the senator's office in any way that we can to move a positive image of our city forward. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was here when the senator came and asked about this particular event and the way it was described. Even after that, just doing my due diligence after the fact, I was told it was going to be a music festival, just in celebration of, I guess, in celebration of the life of July Perry. But I was told it's more of just a music festival. I didn't hear any things of political rants or raves that went around that particular event. I haven't seen anything that would suggest that it would put our city in a bad light when you're celebrating the life of one of our premier citizens, which I would probably would go so far as to say that he would probably be one of our founding citizens had not that event happened. But I'm just saying that I have not heard anything negative about it until tonight. This is, that may have put any type of negative connotation to that particular event. I know we have all kind of different things that goes on in the city, and I'm just wondering when we decide to do something. You mentioned the name July Perry. Why would the HRDB board would have a problem with it? I don't know why they have a problem with it. Again, any other board could have actually helped with that event. It could have been any advisory board. It could have been a youth council. It could have been anyone. I'm just trying to figure out, were you looking for approval from the HRDB to should they went through you first and then maybe brought it to the commission? I'm just trying to figure out what would have been in your mind, the proper protocols to bring about that event to this council.
Commissioner, may I respond?
Please.
What is really at stake here doesn't necessarily meet the eye. One, the event was brought to a public forum announcing an event of major significance on our home turf, and no one paid the professional courtesy of asking anything about who else could be involved in helping to plan it. So for an outside entity to come into and preempt all of the things that we have worked on since 10 May 2018, without anyone saying, have you checked with the Human Relations Diversity Board? Perhaps they've got some things ongoing. I've spent the last 12 months writing a narrative for the 2020 1 November memorial. We prepared and submitted an application to the State Department for a marker ceremony. We just got everything where it should be, except we keep turning it. We keep moving it. We don't sit idly by and wait. Our approach to is that of educating the public on the facts and the events of 2020. And we believe that perhaps we're going a little bit ahead of the cart, putting the horse a little bit ahead of the cart. As I recall correctly, we had a memorial graveside service in Mr. Perry's honor, I believe in midsummer last year. On 21 June this year, we unveiled a marker on Mr. Perry's behalf. And honestly, I laud those activities. But when it puts our commission at a situation where they've got to decide on approving an outside entity to do an event at home where there has been no coordination or no recognition of the 16 years that we put into creating perhaps the most knowledgeable body there is in the state of Florida as it relates to cultural-related events. We created an event here for Fiesta de Colores, we call it. Recognition of the National Hispanic Heritage Month, beginning 15 September, ending about 17 or 15 October. And so we're not in opposition. We don't wish to be adversarial. We just have difficulty working with any organization whose behavioral characteristics is documented that takes us in a manner contrary to what is outlined in our charter and in our bylaws and in our mission statement.
Well, again,
All right,
I'm going to wrap it up here. Again, one thing I need to get some clarity on one thing.
Yes, sir.
Actually, two things, clarity. One, you mentioned outside entity. I just want to make sure that it is known that I wouldn't call Senator Brace's office an outside entity because he's a senator over our district.
I understand
So it's
that.
not an outside entity. So I just want to get some clarification on that to make sure that we all understand that we're not talking about Senator Brace's office because he was the one that came to our commission and presented this to us, this festival. So just for clarity's sake.
Bridge the gap, sir, is my reference.
Okay, all right, okay, so I just want to make sure
Corporate
that
entity.
you identify that.
Yes, sir.
And not put
All right.
no misunderstandings out about Senator Brace's office. Also, you talked about the events of 1920, and it's my understanding that this festival is not surrounding the events of 1920. This festival has nothing to do with the events of 1920. It's just simply honoring one of our citizens that died as a result of it, but that's not a focal point of that particular, from my understanding. Again, this is what I'm only talking about what I've been told. So it's not going to be surrounding the events of 1920. It was just a festival to honor one of our fallen citizens.
Yes, sir. We were sort of hoping, sir.
Let me make some.
Yes, sir.
One of the reasons it got back to the, Senator Bracy wasn't able to go to the meeting the other night, which I am the liaison. The young lady that worked for Senator Bracy, I don't know her name, she was there. She was representing Senator Bracy. The only problems, as I said at the meeting the other night, and I'll get to that in a minute, but when he came here, Senator Bracy went up and talked to the city manager. City manager said, you need to go through the board. So that's why that come about. He said, you should have went to them first and talked to them because they're the ones representing the diversity board for the city of Ocoee. Just like if you come to the planning and zoning board, you come there first and you go through the process, which that's fine. And as we said the other night, and I said, have that on November 2nd, but it doesn't have to be a political act. It has to be an act where the one person that's involved that he's talking about is political, but the other political part of it is you don't put your picture all over the poster. You know, you don't have to put that all over the poster. You can put it as one, just like you and I could be on there as supporting sponsors, but we don't make it a political action where you put your picture all over it. You know, it's standing up on the thing and then the other, because they offered to be part of it, to help run the thing. So that was the whole purpose the other night. He was supposed to come, but I guess he was in a forum in Orlando. So that was what they were talking about, is not having bridged the gap, which is the problem. They have GoFundMe pages and everything else for our town that they didn't have anything to do with our town. So that was the problem with that. As far as having that function on that day, good to go. So, but it's still, you have a board that has been made up of some of the most hardest working diversity people in our city that I think if you took a vote, it probably wouldn't pass. And that's the thing, but we approved to waive the fee for the property, is what we approved. So, Bill, I don't know, did he ever get back with you?
No, sir.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Well, I still see the signs out, but that's the only problem I got with it. It's more of a political function than a let's join it. As I said, it should be citizens support and put forth the actions to do that. But
I think he did say it's not a political function.
Well, it is when you put your picture all over and you're running for
Well,
senator.
if he's doing all the work.
Well,
I don't-
first thing he did was ask for $10,000.
If his office is doing all the work, if his office is doing all the work, I don't see any
Well,
reason
that-
why he couldn't put his picture on that.
Why would you
Again,
not, but you as a citizen of the city should want him to have the HRDD board be involved in that.
I have no problem with that.
Well, that's what
I
I'm
have
saying.
no issue with them.
Well, no good then. That's
support him
what we're
whatsoever, but I
trying to
just don't
find
think
out
it's
is
a political
why they
act.
can't, you were on the board. That's why they were asking them to have them, let the board participate in it.
Okay, I wasn't going to, but now I'm going to.
Huh?
This is the challenge with this. Senator Bracy sat out there, and he was asked by the dice to come up. He wasn't gonna come up.
No, he was coming. He'd already asked about it earlier.
Yeah, he asked about it, but he was
Yeah.
sitting there, and he said,
But
you want me to
it's
speak?
out
And he
of
said, well, wait, hang on a
Commissioner
second.
Prince, out of respect for state senators here, I do call them up.
No, I understand that. That's not what I'm talking about. He was not gonna speak on that issue that particular night.
Yeah.
He was here, but then he was called up. So once he comes up, of course, he's gonna speak on it. And I think he has spoken with either the city manager, deputy city manager, and maybe even to confer with the HRDB, which I agree. The HRDB should have been in consultation with him on this particular event. However, once he came before the commission and the commission gave their blessing, the HRDB needs to get on board.
I think we've been on board from day one, sir. We didn't just sit idly by.
I'm
Nobody.
not talking about what you did in the past. I'm talking about what the commission has directed the senator to do was to get in conference with the HRDB, which he was unable to be there because he was dual-headed, so his representative was there. Once that happens, I'm not sure why you're here as a representative from the HRDB speaking about something that the board has already given us okay to. Why are we talking about this?
We gave
when
an
always
okay
give-
for release. All we give an okay for was the property, not charging. That's what we give an okay for.
Okay, but we've already asked the senator to get with the HRDB to see if the HRDB wanted to partner with him on this event.
And they offered to partner with him.
But now he's saying that the HRDB doesn't want to partner if this particular organization is part of it.
That's true.
Would you like to read why, sir?
No, sir, I don't, because the commission has spoken.
Not about that, we haven't. All we spoke to about, we'll wait till Rosemary comes back and vote on it then. All we did was vote to give them the property. That's what we voted on. Go back and check the minutes. We voted for him to use the property. But the
Just a
money.
quick question for you. So we're talking, are you talking about money or the event?
The event. No, we voted to cut the money for the event, not to charge them.
Waive the fee, correct.
Yeah.
So therefore, we can continue to move on with the event. So my question now is, what are we talking about right now? That's what I'm trying to figure out. What are we talking about now then? If the event's gonna move forward,
He came and
what are we
voiced his opinion.
speaking about?
Well, he just told you, he came and voiced his opinion about what the board questions it about the group that's helping him. That's what he was questioning.
I'm just talking as a taxpayer,
Okay.
as one who votes.
Well, actually, you're not. You presented yourself as a representative of the HRDB, which is an advisory board to the
Which
city.
I am a taxpayer and a member of the board
But
for
when
the
you,
last 13 years, Commissioner.
in this position, when you spoke before on the microphone today, you said you was here as a representative of the HRDB.
I don't believe I made those words. I said I was here to speak on behalf.
I'm not gonna argue, we're not arguing, you know,
I've been told.
you know. The problem is, the whole thing is it's supposed to be something that you wanna do, the city to do, to make an argument out of it. But, you know, yeah. If you wanna have the board, you need to let them have their comments, so that's not, do away with it. All right, anybody else? Did I get to you yet?
I don't have any comments.
Commissioner Brinson?
No comments.
All right. The, no meeting on November the 19th. We have to cancel the 19th. Everybody in favor of that?
On the 19th.
Yep. November the 19th. November the 19th. Nobody, well, Rosemary was. Yeah, anybody, one of y'all were supposed to bring something up tonight, I remember. thing about your,
Oh, is that about the stipend?
you're supposed to bring that up tonight if you wanted to do it. You have to
Okay,
do it before your
I'll bring
next
it up.
budget meeting.
The commission stipend, as we discussed in previous meetings, the stipend for the commissioners as well as the mayor, the income as far as the commissioner and mayor was enacted and executed in 1998. Since then, the salary has not been increased. However, there has been a stipend put in place. And of course, to make any changes to the salary of those, it would have to be done and take effect in the next election year. So what we need to do is have a conversation regarding any other options that we may have before us.
Right. So, y'all want to discuss it?
I think it just, it goes back to my strategic planning. It goes back to several meetings, past meetings that we've been in, and we talk about strategic planning for the city. We talk about how we grow the city, and we have a 20-year master plan together, but we don't have any strategic planning in place. Again, I think Mr. Maxwell mentioned that we are number 78 out of 900 cities throughout the state of Florida. And I believe we're still operating, in my opinion, we're still operating in some senses that we're still operating, that we have 25,000 residents, where we have actually close to 50,000 residents. And before we know it, we're going to be up 85,000 residents, and that's without annexation. And I think that what Commissioner Brinson is saying is that the fact that our pay scale has never went up at all from that point. So when you start looking at strategic planning, you have to look at the personnel that you have in place as well as your leadership, and you look at how you're actually paying those individuals to run your city. So again, if you actually look at that, there has never been any study as far as where they came up with the numbers for commissioner salaries. That was just a bunch of numbers thrown against the wall, and whatever stuck, that's what they took to do the job. So most cities have they actually have a plan, in their strategic plan. It is made up of how many citizens you have, how many citizens you serve within your district, based on that formula. There's a formula that is done. We don't have that formula. That's because we don't have any strategic planning in place. We don't have a mission, a vision, core values. We have none of those things in place. And I think, in my opinion, that we need to start looking at these things more serious as far as how we set our foundation, how we be able to look at the vision moving forward, what are we going to turn over to our kids in 20, 30, 40 years. And it starts with strategic planning. That also starts with how you're paying your leadership team, how you're paying your commissioners, your mayor, and it should be more up to date. So I believe that we should consider looking at a formula that would compensate the commissioners and the mayor relevant to other cities of this same size and how they're being compensated, along with benefits and compensation. So that's just 2 cents.
Well, you want to come in, if you want to do it tonight, when's our public hearing?
It's Wednesday.
Just week from Wednesday, so you don't have another commission meeting. So if I'm not mistaken, what I was told, you have to make the motion and not do that, then you do the resolution put it into the budget at the budget time.
I'm interested to know, what is your thoughts on this? Mayor, yes, sir.
I don't have any thoughts on it. I've been living with this for 30-something years. I used to make $90-something. You know, I can live with it or live without it. You know, it's up to you guys. But you gotta, if you want to do it with the per diem, you've got to. That's why Rob said it had to be tonight, if I'm not mistaken. Then you do it. You say you want to do it, then it goes into the budget process next Wednesday.
Yeah, so a salary increase would not, that's done by ordinance. That's a public hearing.
Resolution.
That is, doesn't go into effect until the next election. The other option is the stipend, which you get a monthly basis. That's done by resolution, but the timing is such that if you're going to increase the stipend, we can do it by resolution, which will be in the next fiscal year, but we need to know what kind of what your thoughts are, what the consensus is on moving forward with that resolution so it can be put in the budget for next year. Because the
Again,
final budget would be approved
I
next
just want to
Wednesday.
say one quick thing also, just a caveat on what I was saying about strategic planning. Again, we don't have to look at changing these salaries right away. But my goal is to start having the city come, we talked about the strategic planning workshop. You agreed to have a workshop with strategic planning, and as a part of that strategic planning, that is a whole part of the whole thing. So it's not something that you can just jump out and say, well, okay, let's just change our salaries overnight. No, we actually come up with a plan as to how we move forward as a city. How do we set up our core values? How do we set up our mission, our vision, and then start looking at the salaries for the commissioners, our leadership. Are we comparable to other cities? Are we able to retain the talent and the skills and the resources that we need to move us into that 20-year plan that we already have in place?
Well, the reason I brought it up, y'all brought it up the other night, you wanted to do it. We don't need to do anything tonight then. And it won't affect anything until you have your meeting. So that's
Well-
the reason I brought it up, because y'all said you wanted to bring it up.
No,
Move on.
I think you're excellent in bringing it up, Mr. Mayor.
No.
Definitely, I think you're good in bringing it up. But I do have a question, and I don't know if, Mr. Shadrick, if the city manager's office has done any research as far as formulas or not. And that's pretty much, because I don't want to just take, a number out of the air and say, hey, this is the number, because it may not make any sense.
We have done some research, and again, this is something that, because your monetary compensation is bifurcated into two categories. One is a salary, which is by ordinance, the other being the stipend. We were prepared to discuss stipend and resolution and budget impact. We have collected information on probably 25 cities at this point, and we're anticipating presenting that as part of some subsequent discussion about the salary itself. There are formulas. I'm not prepared to present them. Most of the formulas that are out there are population-based, where they have a formula. Some of them don't have a formula. They're kind of like the city of Ocoee. I did, at Commissioner Oliver's request, prior to the last meeting when he brought it up, I provided research on several Central Florida communities, and we would be happy if the commission directed us to provide our research to the clerk's office for distribution to the commission as a whole, for you to take a look at. So as far as the formula goes, that's something that I think we would want to present that and let the commission, direct us based on what some of the options are. And it's all over the place, like you might expect. So again, we were expecting to come in and possibly have a discussion about the stipend this evening, because you do have until September of 2020. If you are considering an ordinance change, you have roughly a year to workshop that, decide on a formula, and package that with some of the other things that you've been talking about as part of the budget process. That's my long answer to that.
Okay, and that is about right where I thought we would be. As far as the stipend, I don't know if we, would be a good figure, if you will. I would leave that to the professionals to figure that out. So I'm not sure if we're stuck or what, where we're staying with that.
The reason, or the resolution that enacted the stipend was to cover your local travel. And local was defined as not just City of Ocoee, but Orange County, Osceola County, Seminole County, travel that you do as a commissioner on behalf of the city, and cover your expenses and costs there. So the amount was set, early 2000s, I think, when the first stipend was enacted. It was increased in 2012 or 2013, and hasn't been increased since then.
I do know that the city manager, we pay him we did pay him $700 something a month for car allowance, except now we've bought a car, and plus he gets tolls and gas and all that, so, and insurance. But the directors, I think our city directors get $300 car allowance a month. I think is what theirs is. So that's pretty much what we do.
Let me add to that, Mayor. I'm sorry. And I think I don't want to dismiss the fact that there was one discussion that we talked about, and I think Commissioner Wilson was here at the time, we were talking about being able to allow the commissioners to have some fund for charities. We have a lot of people come here from different organizations that ask for donations for different things, mostly our kids, high school kids, for different events that they go to. And this is how the conversation started. So we talked about having some type of discretionary funds for each commissioner to be able to donate those funds to charitable organizations. So that was the root of the whole conversation, how I get started. I just went off into more of the strategic planning part of it, which still should be a part of that. So again, we have, like, for most of my stipend, actually, I give it away. That's because there's organizations that, as opposed to coming to the podium and come to the commission, if they call me and call my office and I still have money coming, I'll donate $100, $200 to whatever organization or whatever youth organization that comes before me. So I think that was one of the premise of this whole conversation when we start talking about that. Is, look, we were talking about the budget and the budgeting cycle and being able to add some funds. Am I correct? Being able to add funds for the commissioners to be able to give out to different organizations, as opposed to every organization coming before us and just getting, you know, a $500 here, $100 there. So when it's all gone, it's actually all gone at that point. So that was just one of the basis of that conversation, how I got started.
I don't think I think that's a separate thing too. We can do that at the budget process, you know, with the part about the, even with the homeowner thing, funds we put in there to give out to certain ones that got into the problems before because kept going to certain homeowners associations. But you know, if you want to raise the per diem, you can, you know, make that thought process or emotion, and we can address that week from tomorrow night. But I mean, you cannot raise the salary under the salary part till the next election. It has to be election after this election to the next one. But I mean, I said I know I give a lot of money away. I've been doing it. We used to back when I first got here, it was $91 a month, and people would come to the commission and we'd hand out the money out of our pockets. So that's the way it was, and it still pretty much goes that way. So, but whatever y'all want to do, we want to raise it a little to cover your car expenses and stuff like that. I don't have no problem with that.
Not covering car expenses.
No,
I'm talking about charitable donations.
Whatever you
Is
wanna
what
do.
I'm talking about. So
You can donate the money where you
as
want.
opposed to doing that, why don't we consider looking at, while we're in the middle of our budgeting cycle, go back to the original conversation that we had, and that is discretionary funds for the commissioners to be able to give to charitable donations. Can we do that?
You can do it. Yeah, you can
Yes,
do it.
you
You
can
can
do
do it
that.
at the budget meeting.
That's at the direction of the commission.
Yeah.
If you direct us to put
If you-
together
3 votes.
discretionary fund per commissioner,
votes.
we will include that in the budget.
You gonna vote for it?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm supposed to tell you that.
I know.
One thing about that, though, aren't we dabbling in violating the sunshine law if someone comes to you personally and you have city taxpayer funds that are your discretion to give out, rather than them coming before the whole commission?
Actually, no.
No, Orange County
A lot of
does it.
cities do it. A lot of
Everybody
cities do
does
it.
Yeah,
A lot
okay.
of cities do it.
I did not know
That
that.
just goes back to my point. You got
Orange
larger
County
cities
does.
with more citizens. This is how they operate. We're not operating like we should be operating. We need to be able to look, we talked about having a nonprofit organization attached to this commission to do different things out in our community. That's far beyond where we are sitting today. So again, there's a lot of larger cities that are cities our size that are actually operating in that manner, where the commission is actually having a discretionary fund to be able to give out charitable donations, as opposed to
All right.
everyone coming to this commission and asking for money.
All right. I just asked the legal advice. We can vote on it. I was told to say it and not bring it up because Rob told me, but we can do it at public hearing next Wednesday, week from Wednesday. So we want to add that discretionary part. To me personally, I'd rather do the discretionary part than doing the thing where we let them, they keep coming in and then.
Oh, yeah.
Or you give it out to the other things because it just runs out. But
Yeah.
just bring it up, write it down and bring it up. We'll talk it, and Rosemary will be back, Commissioner Wilson, but we can do that at the meeting, because I just got the legal opinion. Cost me
Okay.
$50.
I think we ought to schedule some
Take it out of per
workshops
diem.
too.
Yeah,
As Commissioner Oliver stated, I think we need some workshops to talk these issues
yeah.
out.
well,
So we
there's
can come
always
to some
ways, things to
conclusions.
improve. There's always time to improve in anything you do. So, all right, anybody else have any comments? I got to you, didn't I? You way down.
Oh, I
there,
have no
didn't
comments.
you? Okay, all right. You got any comments? No. All right. All right, anybody else in the audience have any comments? If not, we're gonna go home. You fill out a form when you get through.
Okay, my name is Sue Laurie. I reside in Phase 2 of Rose Hill. Just to comment on the using the discretionary funds for, or should I say using the stipends to make charitable donations. I don't agree with that. I think that's your own, you're using that as your own personal slush fund. I don't think that's correct. That money is given to you to defray expenses for travel that you need to make, etc. And just as a comment, as a citizen, I don't approve of that.
All right, thank you. Put a paper down, but that would be where you do the discretionary, not out of the per diem, right?
We do it, we all do.
Yep. All right. Anybody else? If not, meeting adjourned.